Oh, welcome back to BT. 2 years ago today, Ontario declared a state of emergency for the first time over the COVID-19 pandemic.
This morning, I've declared a state of emergency in the province of Ontario. We're facing an unprecedented time in our history. This is a decision that was not made lightly. COVID-19 constitutes a danger of major proportions.
What a time. From March 2020 to today, we've all gone through and learned a lot about our public health systems and how we respond to emergencies. Joining us now with a look back is epidemiologist Raywat Deonandan and Diane Martin, CEO of the Registered Practical Nurses Association of Ontario. To both of you, a very good morning, and we appreciate you joining us today on the significant anniversary. Raywat, I want to start with you. What did we learn from that clip that we just ran till this point over 2 years later?
Well, we learned some things about the disease. We learned some things about vaccine technology. But I think most importantly, we learned a lot about our society, about the extent to which we are willing to sacrifice to conserve our medical system and to protect each other. And we can debate over whether or not that extent was extraordinary or not. I like to think that we learned that we can rely upon our fellow citizen, but to a large extent, we also learned that there are deep cracks in society that things like pandemics can exacerbate and prise apart.
Diane, I'll send it over to you as well. What do you think the province did right and what was done wrong when it comes to how we were supporting the healthcare workers, especially those at the front lines?
Yeah, I think, first of all, I think just the very day they called the pandemic was an important day, important thing they did. But right away, we realized we weren't prepared. We didn't have the things that we should have had. Looking forward, I like to think that maybe now we'll make sure we have those things. We didn't have the equipment. We didn't have necessarily all the policies, and certainly in some sectors like long-term care, we didn't have the infrastructure and support to deal with what came.
Raywat, what do you think we did really well? Because, I mean, we all had our criticisms for a variety of reasons, whether you were a parent teaching at home, a frontline healthcare worker, a teacher. Everyone had a different view of this. What did we do really well that you don't think has gotten enough play in the public space?
Well, first, who's we? Is it the provincial government, the federal government, the citizens, the medical community? Everyone did different things well and different things poorly. But overall, I think we learned fast. I mean, look at the speed at which the general population has learned about epidemiology, things like R and test positivity rates, words that are bandied about at cocktail parties casually now that were unknown 2 years ago. So the learning curve has been extraordinary, and the desire for the public to uptake new information has been very, very good. Now, I think the government has been pretty good at sharing the information eventually. It was slow to start out with, but we're all learning quickly how to engage the public in better communication, and there's a lot more work to be done.
Now, Diane, looking back now 2 years ago, at the time, did you anticipate that this virus would escalate the way that it did throughout the province and the world, really?
You know, I think intellectually, those of us in the healthcare system knew that how this pandemic would play out, but it was surreal. And I think throughout the 2 years, as we went through each stage and experienced each of the sort of challenges that the healthcare system and the people in the healthcare system faced, it was overwhelming, even though we knew what the process would probably be. So I don't know if it's something you can ever be prepared for, but certainly the suffering on the part of healthcare people who work in the healthcare system, what they saw, what they experienced, how tired they were, has taken a toll that I'm concerned will take a long time to heal.
You know, I'm sure a lot of people are in this boat. I was scared. I was scared 2 years ago today. And it lasted a lot longer. Raywat, as a person of science, because as a lot of people went on TV and did extraordinary jobs and in the media generally, of just kind of talking us through it in a rational, calm way. But it's been 2 years after now. I think we can level with ourselves. Were you as scared as us?
Early on, I was terrified. Early on, I did the math one night, and my spouse found me in the fetal position, curled up, because I realized this is going to last years, not weeks or months, but years. And there's a good chance that my parents wouldn't see my newborn baby ever. right? Because they're elderly and we'd be sequestered for a long time. I didn't think we'd have vaccines for 4 years. We got them relatively quickly. So yeah, I was pretty scared early on, and not enough people really understood the seriousness that we were facing in those early days.
And Diane, I'll leave the last question with you. Now, 2 years later, we are seeing mask mandates being lifted as of Monday, a lot of the restrictions being pulled back as well. Do you think that we are ready, and are frontline workers ready to deal with some of the possible consequences of it?
I think we need to, I understand the need to return to a normal life. Our kids need to be in school, and I understand all of that, but I think we need to be nimble and we need to be ready for something that might change or an acceleration of the disease again. I think we need to remember that masking, while it may not be mandatory eventually, it is a very kind and thoughtful thing to do. And I would just really encourage everybody to remember that people who are taking those precautions will have their reasons, and to be supportive of each other. I certainly will continue to wear my mask. And of course, vaccination is the single most important thing that you can continue to have your eye on. If you're not vaccinated, please get vaccinated for the good of our healthcare system and your fellow citizens.
Raywat Deonandan, Diane Martin, it has been an extraordinary couple of years. We appreciate, especially on this day specifically, both of you for joining us. Have a great day. Stay safe. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
The fog that we were all kind of living in 2 years ago, like, it's just to see the clip of the premiere. That brought me back.
And you remember,
Yes.
It's again one of those moments where you remember exactly where you were when this announcement was made, or at least when you caught wind of it, because it just kind of set in that fear. I know I was terrified at the time, 4 months pregnant, thinking, what's going to happen?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.